Ooh, what up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Darth Joker with this week's view. And this week I'm going to go over the ways I think Kingdom Hearts should handle the Key Saga. So, these are like, the mobile games or web browser in the case of Kingdom Hearts Key. And so I'm going to go over, what we know about the games, like what else happened with them, like them not being available, and how the ways I think they could be handled, like for in the future. So with all that being said, on with the video. So here's what we know about the games. So Kingdom Hearts Key was made for web browsers in Japan. So United States did not get it. Now we saw plot points like just through the internet, like through Google searches and all that stuff, but we never got the game ourselves. In the US, it was released everywhere outside Japan. Got it through Kingdom Hearts Key Unchained, which was made for mobile games, and it remade part of the game of Kingdom Hearts Key, like basically before the actual Keyblade War. Like so, quests 1 through 585 of Unchained was like a remake of part of Key. Now in 586, it was revealed that basically Unchained is a sequel to Key. Basically, the player was like reliving parts of the his adventures. It's far part the way like for everyone to forget the Keyblade War and all that. And so then it's where you got Union Cross, which is what a lot of it was happens after. So quests 586 through 979 is like Union Cross. And then Dark Road, which is the Xehanort centered game, gives some of his backstory. Obviously there's still some things we don't know about. That was added to the Key Unchained app later on. And then later, Key Unchained slash Unchained slash Unicross and Dark Road were made unplayable. Basically, they were made, like cutscene only or whatever. And then they were later delisted, so you can't really download it. So the only way you could see the stories like through YouTube videos. Was there's some pretty good ones out there about those that like show the the cutscenes and break them down and all that. The Missing Link was going to be made Unreal Engine. I believe it's four. It's either 4 or 5. I believe it's four because it's a mobile game. And it was we made as a mobile game with the main character being a reincarnation of the player, and it was canceled on May 14th, 2025. And yes, there's been stuff that's come out over the months about Missing Links as far as the story and stuff. I'm not getting into any of that. I will say is that it looks like it would have been a great game. Like I would go as far as to say it Missing Link probably would have been the best mobile game of all time if it was released. Which I mean it's a low bar set. Mobile game is not necessarily like some high art as far as video games go. Like most are really I mean outside of like I mean there'd be plenty of ports of console games that have been better than Missing Link. Probably, but like as far as games that were made for phones, Missing Link probably would have been the best one because of what they were doing. And dude, there was gonna be so much lore with it. I mean, and Key and Dark Road, there was a lot of lore with those. And Missing Link is gonna have a lot of lore though. And of course, we know a lot of those characters will be brought into Kingdom Hearts 4, which is kind of why we people are wanting something to be done with these because 4 is relying a lot of the plot points and characters from these games. So here are the options as for how Square Enix could handle um, these games in the future. The preferred option is console games. So basically, they just take these games, put them on like you know Nintendo Switch 2, hopefully, because that's actually going to be a physical copy. Yeah, it'll probably have PS5 or PS6. Hopefully, hopefully before 2028, before Sony ends physical media like the retarded pricks they are. Xbox probably might get it, but I think Nintendo definitely would get it, and that's probably what I'll play it on if this happens. Now, this could be HD 2D. I've heard that brought up, you know, as like, basically just like a more high depth like version of the graphics from, you know, these games, especially with Key and Dark Road, Missing Link, of course, would be 3D. And it could adapt like the gameplay from each game to consoles or use gameplay from the console and handheld games to like for them. So like maybe you have like deck commands for like like from Birth by Sleep and Recode and Dream Drop Distance for these games, or how like the how like the commands are laid out in 1, 2, and 3. It could be you could do some really good stuff with this, and obviously like since if there's any like store like plot points that have not been revealed, like because there's looks like there's some gaps in Dark Road, you know, like as far as like because there's some time jumps here and there. Maybe there's like some gaps like as far as what led to certain events. Maybe if Square wants to reveal that, they can. Kind of like how Coded in the movie version added some extra scenes, and that were kind of interesting. The other option is TV show adaptations. Now, some people brought movies because of 350 or 2 days and Coded. I don't think movies would be the case because there is so much story in it, they'd be leaving a lot out. Like, there's a lot of stuff that would be left out, I think. So I think TV show adaptations would be significantly better than movies, so they could get all the content in. And so like this we does like anime shows. So as far as who the studio would be, I don't know. That'd be Square and Disney would figure that out. You know, I would say basically have Kingdom Hearts Key. That portion of it would adapt the entire web browser game and then adapt quests 586 through 979 Key Unchained for the Union Cross section. And then Missing Link and Dark Road, they could serve as seasons of Kingdom Hearts Key, or they could be their own shows. Like either one's a possibility. And why I think this is an option probably to do with like Disney wants to pull from the video game and anime fandoms for Disney Plus content. As you see, with some recent efforts as far as anime goes, like with Dragon Striker, which sucked. It was an American show that tried to look anime, and it was really bad. Star Wars Resistance, which was really bad. Like they said it looked anime. It was like it looked more like Iron Man: Art Adventures, which is a significantly better show than Resistance. Star Wars Visions seasons 1 and 3. Those were all Japanese studios. Season 2 is not the case. And seasons, of course, season 1 Visions, I would say is a mix of good, bad, and mid. Season 3, all were good. And of course, Twisted Learner, which is based off a phone game. Of course, the Magic School, where the houses are based off of Disney villains. These are all examples of Disney either making anime or emulating anime. And like, Twisted Wonderland was a phone game, so there's precedent for Disney adapting phone games into anime. And Disney has made distribution deals with other anime studios. Famously, with Ishura, Bleach, Mao, um, like there's multiple like studios they made deals with, like distribution deals made on production, but and that's I would say been lucrative for them. And then famously Disney's deal with Epic Games shows their efforts in trying to get gamers. Of course, especially with the Fortnite rumors. Um, so yeah, because Bob Iger was like, Kids really like video games these days. Yeah, it took you how long to figure that out, you freaking retard? Oh, it took you how long to figure out kids like video games? Yeah. But yeah, I think like because Disney Plus needs a hit. Like they do need to find a hit. And honestly, they had like The Mandalorian was a major hit for them. Well, the first two seasons anyway. Season three, don't think that one did get season three. I don't recall getting a lot of viewers. Clone Wars season seven was a big hit. Bad Batch. Well, the first season might have been a hit. Seasons two and three, not so much as far as like viewership goes. Andor, whatever praise that got, it was not did not get a lot of viewers. And all the MCU shows, like WandaVision may have got some decent amount of viewers, but I don't recall it being considered good by a lot of people. Same with Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki season one. Then like everything after Loki season one, like Hawkeye, um, Loki season two, you know Wonder Man, um, Agatha Long, Daredevil Born Again. Those were viewer wise, they didn't get a lot of viewers. I mean, X-Men 97 is probably might have got decent viewers because it got some praise like the first season, but like and then Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider was a pile of freaking garbage. Gosh, that was bad. And uh, and yeah, there isn't really a lot outside of Star Wars and Marvel. Like there's like a National Treasure show that I don't think really got a lot of views. There was like a Monsters Inc. show that I don't think got a lot of views. I only saw one episode of it. I was not a fan. Um, yeah, I mean, Disney Plus just doesn't have a lot of hits. So a Kingdom Hearts show, because that is what Kingdom Hearts is one of is an IP that is actually really healthy for Disney. Like it's actually it might be Disney's healthiest IP. Like it just there's some business sense in like trying to do a TV show for it, where it's like TV show the phone games, or like there is some business sense in there. So I think it is very possible, but I do prefer the console games. And that's it. Do you like this video? Do you dislike this video? Do you agree with what I believe are the two main options as for how Disney could handle the Key Saga? Do you think there are other options? How do you think this should be handled, or do you think they'll just do nothing and rely on internet videos to recap people on everything? Fill that in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Look forward to the next video.